To start off the video, this is a 0304 Cobra T56 with an upgraded 26 ply input shaft. And before I installed it, I wanted to go ahead and use some brake cleaner and some Scotch-Brite to go ahead and clean up all the grime and gunk from the years of being used. So this is just me going through cleaning it. So unfortunately I lost audio here, but what I'm pretty much in a nutshell saying is this flywheel, I'm using ARP hardware with some red Loctite on the threads and the ARP lube on the bottom of the head so that it doesn't chew up the flywheel surface. And then I cleaned the surface of the flywheel off and installed the clutch and pressure plate using new M8 bolts with some Loctite as well. And I torqued the flywheel bolts in a pattern from 20 foot-pounds, 50 to 70, and then the pressure plate bolts were 30 foot-pounds. And I used the alignment tool to make sure that the clutch discs were aligned perfectly. Also, I started these bolts by hand. I always do the first 2-3 threads by hand. Never do I recommend installing bolts with an impact tool of any kind. So what you're seeing here is I've already threaded them, so then I just used the impact tool to draw them in closer just to save time, but I didn't actually use them to smack the bolts down. It was just to draw them in. When you get to the higher torque specs, the motor tends to want to spin freely. So what I like to do is take a long pry bar and wedge it between the teeth and one of the transmission alignment dowels, and try to use one arm to hold from the engine rotating and then the other to torque. This has been a little successful. Sometimes it's a little tricky and you might slip up, but I just like to keep the motor from spinning as much as possible in a reverse rotation. Now here, when you got the alignment tool in, you want to periodically check it, and then you also want to tighten in a pattern, a cross pattern, and pay attention to how the fingers draw in. Don't just tighten one bolt up all the way. Just do it evenly. Do a little bit, turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here, and it really works out well with keeping the alignment straight. So remember, I torque these down to 35 foot-pounds is normally what I torque these pressure plates bolts to, especially these twin discs. Other ones usually around 40-45, but always look at your spec sheet to see what they call for. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at the gap between the tips of the fingers on the pressure plate and then in relation with the center of the alignment tool, and I use my fingertip to go around the whole gap and see if it's off, and just make sure that it's nice and straight. So here I am test fitting the transmission to make sure that it slides perfectly through the both discs and seats onto the plate surface. So once I did that, I went ahead and removed the transmission and then installed the new dot bearing, and then greased the bearing race and the pivot ball. This is using the stock pivot ball with this spec clutch. The way it's designed, the pressure plate and flywheel are machined in a way that it allows the factory pivot stud to be able to be used. And you can tell a big difference when you compare like a stock flywheel. This one has more of a cutout that's deeper to to allow for better pedal throw. It's a really good clutch. So what I'm doing here is I'm reusing these mounts that mounts the battery harness or the starter harness on the front of the engine, just like the 4.6. What I'm doing is open up the holes. I got the ground here, the mount for the cable here, the ground on the factory side. What I'm gonna do is open this hole up real quick. Alright, so this is a single turbo street strip kit from CG Fab. I've done business with Caleb before there. He did the kit in my Cobra, and this guy wanted to do the same thing, so I got in touch with Caleb. He built me another one. I got it, unfortunately it wasn't coated like we had agreed on, so I had to send it back. So this is it with the coating now. I haven't even opened it yet. A lot of packing peanuts in here too. It makes a mess. That's our merch. What am I looking at that shape? This is the crossover to the merge from the passenger side. Clamps. The only thing we want right now are the headers. So here is the passenger side header. Driver side header. Starter down pipe. And I imagine that's probably everything. Yeah, I feel like that's everything. Let's clean this mess up here. So what's wrong is the head truck. Like I said, this is the passenger, forward facing, so the direction's how I know this one's the passenger. Because it'll come over off passenger crossover. This pipe hit the merge, and then the driver is connected straightly to the merge on that side. I've had these kits on and off a couple times, so kind of easy to remember on these ones. Oh yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Much better, much better. Alright, Caleb. Man, just look at that. This perfect finish. Perfect finish. God, it looks good. Caleb, you did awesome, man. And it looks like I'll be able to use all of the studs, which I rather use the studs than bolts. So what I'm gonna do now is I copper sprayed the gaskets. That's what I always do. And I've got new hardware too, so let me get that real quick. Alright, so here's the factory OEM multi-layer gasket. I bought these just new from Tasca, or White Bear Lake Ford is who I normally use. I use the Permatex copper spray. Works really good for head gaskets and exhaust gaskets. Yeah, so I sprayed it both sides. Did a couple of coats, let it cure in the sun. It's real tacky. Even after it dries, it's pretty tacky. So I'm gonna mount this one on. Now I think a couple of these I'm gonna have to start ahead so that they're full thread. Oh crap. So they're full thread by the time I get them bolted down. Alright, so we got this other side here. This is driver manifold. Copper spray, RTV, like I always do on these things. Looks like we're missing a stud here. Luckily, I bought some. Perks of buying stuff from Ford. I bought new hardware. I bought all new studs, thinking I needed all of them because I couldn't remember if this motor had them or not. Look at that. Just so beautiful. It's a nice kit. Just a beautiful kit. Look at that. Factory hardware as well. Factory gaskets, factory studs, factory nuts. Just beautiful. So I'd really like to wrap the merge and stuff and get all this bolted on. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do it that way or not. I'll go ahead and just open it and get an idea. I'd like to get this in the car today, and I think wrapping it just takes so long. I'll do it when it's in the car. So here we got the On3. This is their ball bearing. Was it BMF turbo 7675? I haven't ran this turbo. I've been planning on going on it, but I'm using it for this guy's car, and I plan on using it for mine too. I'm gonna mock it up on here and make sure I ain't gotta do any special clearancing. this will conclude the end of the video here. So I've got the kit mocked up here. I will be disassembling it now to install the engine. I just wanted to go ahead and verify fitment and get an idea of how everything was going to go, and just get some nice photos of it, check it out. So next what you'll see is the engine going in, and I wrap the merge pipe and start routing power steering lines and getting everything buttoned up. So hopefully I have another video posted here soon. Thanks for watching.